Hey everybody, and welcome back to Smith Party of Six. I'm Audriana Smith, and this is our family's channel all about homeschooling and life rooted at home. So spring is officially fully upon us, which for a lot of us means starting to round out our homeschool year. As you may have seen, my last video was all about putting together our homeschool portfolios for the year. So you might have guessed that our year is officially done then. I usually like to wrap up our formal year in April. But we are also year-round homeschoolers. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about what that actually means for us, if we do any sort of summer break, what it looks like, that sort of thing for you guys today. So this video is for anyone who's interested in year-round homeschooling and doesn't really know what to do during the summertime with their kids, or for those who are just curious and want to know, what year-round homeschoolers do. I know that sometimes I'm just curious about like what other homeschoolers are doing, even if it's not necessarily something that I'm interested in. So welcome all. So as I mentioned a lot on my blog, homeschooling is really super flexible. It's basically what you want to make it. So even though we take on the title of year-round homeschoolers, it doesn't mean that school looks the same for us all year. Just like everybody else, we still like the summer and we want to be outside as much as possible. We take family hikes a good bit. The kids really like to do their nature journals. It's just generally nicer to be outside when the weather's nice. So of course, I don't want us to be cooped up inside of our dining room or living room or wherever else we're doing school for the moment all summer long. Even though when people say year-round homeschooling, sometimes that's what others imagine. What it actually looks like for us is having a lot more flexibility with our schedule. So for example, a lot of times we take family trips with my husband's family. We usually go to the beach. This year we're actually going to be going to the mountains, so it's going to be a little bit different. And sometimes that conflicts with kids in public school, or if we decided to start exactly at a certain date in August, that might conflict with when we were in school. But for us as year-round homeschoolers, it doesn't really matter. We can take that time off and it's totally fine. If the kids and I are feeling really burnt out in the middle of the winter, then we can totally go ahead and take a break for a week or two and pick it back up. So really for us, it's just being able to toy with our schedule, having lots of extra days, and not having to worry about getting all of those days in. Now, for our state anyways, I don't have to track our schooling days, but I do like to generally at least get close to the end of the curriculum before our school year ends. And like I said, I like to turn in our portfolios in April. Our reviewer has an early bird special, so if you do it in April, then it cuts the cost a good bit. So I do like to get done early and get that deal, but I also don't want to just cut it off when they're only partway through their curriculum. So having that flexibility of starting things in the summer is really great. But I actually have a whole list of other reasons too why I have chosen to school our kids year round. I promise I won't take a long time on it. So number one, it really helps with retention if they don't just put something down for months at a time and then they're expected to go right back into doing the same thing that they were doing before. I know a lot of curriculum kind of reviews a little bit at the beginning, but not all of it does. And I think it just helps kind of keep those juices flowing if we keep going, especially for things like math. I really don't like to stop math completely during the summer. Now, sometimes that might not look like doing a curriculum. This year it does. If you've seen my video about our math, you'll know why. So this year we are doing our math lessons during the summer, but sometimes it might look like printing off free worksheets. There's a website that I believe is called K5 Learning. I will put it down in the description box, or at least I'll try to remember. You can go on there and you can find what grade your child is in, the type of thing that you want them to practice, and they'll have multiple worksheets there for you that you can print out that are totally free. And they don't just have it for math, they have it for other subjects too. But the main one that I've used it for before was math. It's also a good resource to use just if your child needs extra practice on something that you don't have extra practice for in the curriculum. You can go on there, find free worksheets, print them out. There you go. I know not everyone is like a worksheet mom, and I try not to overdo it with worksheets, but if they really need help with something and you want to be able to sit there and help them practice it, then it always helps if it's also free. The second reason why I like to homeschool year round is because of structure. My kids really thrive under structure, and they tend to kind of devolve into chaos a little bit easier when we don't have like some normal routine in place. It's not like I have everything scheduled out down to the minute that we're doing, but we kind of have a daily flow. And when we break out of that, I don't know, it's like they're like a mini mob because there's 4 of them. So it just helps a lot of times with like their self-control if I just keep them in that general daily pattern. Now, that might sound boring, like you don't always want things to be the same. That's totally fine if you feel that way. And our days aren't always exactly the same, but in general, if I just let go of that structure for the entire summer, I know that come fall, we would probably have a little bit of a hard time easing back into it. So I just like to keep some semblance of that structure throughout the year, though school during summertime is not as long for us as school during the rest of the year. Okay, but the main reason number 3 for why I choose to year-round homeschool is because of our education philosophy. And I think that I've probably mentioned this somewhere in the videos before. If not, I've definitely mentioned it on the blog though. But for us, it's just like the education isn't segregated to certain times. Learning is for life. It's for all of life. So for us, it doesn't make sense to take this big break from our normal educational processes during the summer. Now, education doesn't always have to look like sitting at the dining room table and working in our math book, or sitting on the couch and reading and narrating back to me, though we do still do those things over summertime. A lot of times in summer, it comes more in the form of nature notebooking more, which is something that I mentioned earlier on in the video. It's something that we picked up from Charlotte Mason and that we have really enjoyed doing. The kids love doing their nature notebooks. So a lot of our school day during the summer might even look a little bit more like unschooling or letting them focus on their interests even a little bit more. The kids have recently been on this kick where they're really interested in business. And so it's been funny to listen, I mean funny, but also kind of cool to listen to like their little business plans that they're making of like how they're gonna get these businesses of theirs off the ground. And they're like pooling the money that they have because they like wanna build a stand to put out front of our house. And they're gonna start out selling something like that's not as expensive for them to make, like cookies or lemonade, and then they're gonna like work their way up to having a full-blown restaurant altogether. It's fun. And I mean, now that they have more time during these summer months, I'm totally open to letting them do something like that and pursue those interests. And who knows, maybe we have some little entrepreneurs on our hands. Okay, so then that finally brings me to what this video is actually all about, which is what school actually looks like for us in the summertime as year-round homeschoolers. First of all, I just want to start off by saying that honestly, it's a little bit different every single year. It just kind of depends on if I feel like they still need work on certain things, if there's a subject that we didn't fully get done during the official school year, and if I'm wanting to kind of continue that but gently throughout the summer to finish it out before our next school year. So it just depends kind of on a lot of things, what types of things that we're wanting to do over that summer. Of course, quarantine summer was interesting, but specifically for this year, there are several things that I'm wanting to focus on. So it's really going to come down to your priorities. So first of all, we always do Bible. That is an all year round thing for us because we never stop being disciples. It's never time to take time off from being in the Word of God. It's our daily bread. And because we value it so highly, we don't want to slack on any of our Bible learning during the summer. I do think that I'm gonna do a different video at a point later on telling you guys exactly what we do for Bible, which really has kind of just become family worship. And so I'll share like any resources and exactly what that looks like in that video. So then in addition to Bible, of course, you guys already know that we are going to be doing math, and I've already kind of talked about that one. So we'll go ahead and move on. So the next thing that I want to continue practicing with them over the summer is reading. And that's especially true. I mean, it's true for all of them, but it's especially true for Arwen because she is my youngest reader right now. She'll be 6 this summer, but she has started reading chapter books and everything. Right now, we're currently reading Peter Rabbit together. So she's reading and narrating back to me. Actually, that's a lie. We just finished Peter Rabbit. We're going to be starting on Squirrel Nutkin together. And she reads with me in that book too. Even though, you know, Beatrix Potter doesn't always use small words. Hi, Chloe. My cat is visiting now. Anyways, so she doesn't always use small words. You know, there are definitely some bigger vocabulary words in there that Arwen is doing. And so I want to keep that momentum going with her. She has really blossomed as a reader this year, and I want to keep it up. So we do reading stuff all throughout the summer, and that's like my one-on-one reading with all of them. But then we also do our family read aloud throughout the summer too. We are currently, I might be able to grab it if I can like not knock my light over. We are currently finishing up with Little Britches, which has been a really fun one. My kids really love like the farm type of books. They've really liked the Little House on the Prairie series. And so Little Britches was just a good addition for us. There were several read alouds that we really enjoyed this year, and this has definitely been one of them. I've heard that it has a sad ending, and you can like feel it coming every time that they mention certain things. I won't be a spoiler, so I'm not looking forward to the ending, but it has been a really good book to read with them so far. So we're gonna keep doing that. And then after we finish Little Britches, I think we're gonna do Wind in the Willows. I keep saying that we're gonna do that for a family read aloud, and we still have not done it yet. There's always one that we're like, oh, but we really wanna read this one more, so we go ahead and do that one. But this time, I think I'm actually gonna stick with it and do Wind in the Willows. Okay, so besides those two kind of like bigger things that are more like what we would do during the normal year, we just continue to focus on like smaller stuff. So they'll each do like a handwriting or a copywork page just to keep up with their writing skills. The older kids have piano lessons, so every day they practice their piano still. We still do handicrafts throughout the summer, and really they have more time to focus on that too, you know, whatever it is that they're interested in learning at the time. Like I mentioned before, since we want to be outside, we do a lot more nature hikes as a family, which means more nature journaling. We don't do any like official nature study per se, but at the same time, we're just paying attention to nature. We're observing it, watching it unfold, enjoying it, that sort of thing. And summer is also a really good time, like for those life skills, which I mean, we do all year round, just, you know, from being together as a family. But the girls are really interested in learning how to cook and bake. And even Elijah has been liking to bake. It's been fun to kind of teach all of them. Arwen has started on embroidery stuff, which also is kind of like more handicraft-ish as well. But kind of any of those, I can just lump those in one category. Handicraft, life skill type of things. Those are really good to focus on in the summer because you just have more time to be able to train a little bit more slowly for the little ones to be able to catch on. Oh, and I totally almost forgot to mention that besides just nature hikes, also we'll have time in our garden too. We always plant things in the late spring. That's when we can here in West Virginia, like in June is good planting season for us. So we will have a garden. Every year we have tomatoes. We've tried peppers. I'm not good with peppers at all. We've had onions. Our kale usually does really good, but of course that's like when it's cooler, kale does better. Just different things. So right now I have my seed starts going, my little baby plants. I've got some tomatoes, I've got carrots and radishes and broccoli. So those are the things that are currently growing in there right now. And I'm getting ready to plant some basil and rosemary. And I might just keep those in the house. We have like a nice sun porch on the front of our house, and I think that I might just keep those in there. I was thinking about like having them off the kitchen, like outside, because that felt like really cute and cool to like have them like right off the kitchen, but I just might keep them inside the house instead. So basically all of that means that what we are not focusing on during summer is like our formal science or natural history lessons. We're not doing any of those. We don't worry about history during the summer. Historical things in our family for some reason kind of always end up coming up. I used to hate history when I was in public school. I hated it. It felt pointless. But like learning it along with my children has actually felt just so much more interesting and pertinent and relevant, and you really start to notice how history does repeat itself and that it does affect us. But I've really enjoyed learning history alongside my kids. So even though we don't do any history during the summer, it's like it always kind of comes up in daily conversations, and we'll end up like looking something up like, oh, how did that start? Or how did that happen? I don't know. We do that a lot. We're all kind of like becoming history buffs or something. So we don't do any formal history though. We don't do any of like our formal geography stuff. So we were learning about the United States this year, and we were learning about specifically our state as well. We learned a lot about West Virginia. And then I also like read books for them to narrate back about like physical geography stuff. So like position with the earth, north, south, east, west, the different winds, different areas on the earth and what type of climate they have, like in deserts or mountains and valleys and that sort of thing. So we don't do any of that kind of stuff during the summer. We also haven't been doing any of our poetry during the summer. Now, last year we actually had like little poetry parties. We used like the Good and the Beautiful's little like poetry party for Little's book that they had. And then we incorporated other poetry that we liked too. At the time we were still studying Robert Louis Stevenson, and we loved his poetry. So we did a lot of poetry last summer. This year we were focusing more on Emily Dickinson, and she was a little bit tougher. Even for me, like I had to think about a lot of her poems a little bit more than we necessarily had to with Robert Louis Stevenson, but we still enjoyed her. But we are going to go ahead and take a break for a little while from poetry. But really we're doing that with all of our like fine arts type of stuff that we do. So we're taking a break from our composers, we're taking a break from picture study, and we'll pick all of that back up in the fall. And then last but not least, we're also not doing any formal like writing type of curriculum. So not like handwriting and copywork type of writing, but like our English grammar writing type of work. So we just don't do any of that during the summertime. So it's like a much more relaxed feel over summer. Even though we're still doing work, it doesn't feel nearly as much as our normal feast of education, as Charlotte Mason would call it. It's much more reserved, much less to kind of focus on, so that we can relax more and we can enjoy hobbies and interests more. I will mention one thing that we are not doing this year, but that I have done in the past, is use the summer as a time to focus on like a specific unit study that you want to do. So this is like if you don't have any of your other curriculum that you need to get through during the summer, if you want to just use that time to focus in on like one thing and maybe just do it for like 30 minutes to an hour every day, just like different subjects all surrounding this one thing in this unit study. Or if you just want to do a certain science unit in the summer and you do it for like a half hour every day during the summertime. I think that that kind of stuff helps too with like what we talked about before with like the retention and the structure. So even though we're not doing that this year, that's another good option as well. So then, much like probably a lot of people who also take the summer off, then if you have like a slower summer schedule, you can still take that time to kind of reflect on the year, what things went well, what things that you want to change, and kind of correct course for the following year. I might also make a video about that coming up soon, just like what things that I learned from this year, what I won't do again this coming year, what I want to change, that sort of thing. If you're interested in that type of video, like let me know in the comments or reach out to me in email or something. All right, but that is all I have for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it and that you also enjoy your summer, whether you're doing year-round homeschool or whatever the case may be. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.